Noel Munson here on Our Net, the place for conversations. Delighted to be talking to Freyja Theaker this morning. We're both in Portugal, and just before we started this interview, we we're just talking about how anxiety levels are changing, understandably, a little bit in Portugal. Hi, Freyja. Thank you so much for joining me. Perhaps we could continue on that theme.
Hello, Carl. Nice to meet you.
Yes. And you as well. Delighted to have you here in the country helping us, assuaging and calming our anxiety with a breathing technique.
Yeah.
You were saying that things perhaps aren't portrayed brilliantly in the media, and it doesn't really help in terms of people's mental health or mental well-being.
Well, I mean, I'm just aware that what we have to be aware of is people's mental health is a very important factor in this whole any illness situation, let's face it. So, I mean, anxiety itself releases chemicals into the bloodstream, which we know can detriment people's ability to resist illness and things like this. So the more we can stay calm, the better. And I can imagine that watching the media is quite anxiety inducing right now. And the World Health Organization have issued a statement to say that if it is worrying you, then best not to watch it. But obviously we do need to keep informed. So it's a case of maybe just limiting what we know, but making sure we get the facts and we know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And you very kindly have offered to teach a breathing technique called the 7-11 breathing technique.
Yeah, I mean, there are various ways to stay calm, and that you can try, and this is just one of many. And so probably a lot of people have already got their preferred technique. Even going for a walk in the countryside at this stage by yourself, or you know, somewhere away from people might be something that you could use to keep calm. There's all sorts of ways to keep calm, but keeping calm definitely is an important thing to really consciously decide to do. And it does require, I think in my experience, some additional tools, some additional processes sometimes to help you achieve that. Because once the emotions in the body start to become quite aroused and anxious, then the ability of the mind to think straight, as we all know, becomes very quickly damaged, and we can become quite prone to catastrophizing and imagining the worst and all sorts of fears, and we freak ourselves out basically quite simply in that situation. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's such an accurate depiction as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And we see that in so many ways from our own experience, don't we?
And that's the way the brain is designed to work, and we must understand it. It's not something that is very pleasant to experience, but it is a natural and survival mechanism of the brain. So if we find ourselves having these awful catastrophic thoughts, we do so because the brain is designed, that's part of our mechanism. So what we need to do is realize that those thoughts are being generated generally by a high level of emotional arousal. And emotions, it's not a psychology lesson, but remember, emotions come before thoughts. Okay, the way the brain is wired, if we're not feeling good, we're not likely to think very well. And the brain is going to try and fix the feeling. That's what it's. The brain is essentially a big fixing machine. It's a problem-solving machine. So if it feels something's going on with the body, some kind of emotion that it doesn't like, it will immediately turn all its power internal and start to try and figure out what it can do to fix the problem. And
that's a brilliant psychology and physiology lesson. I'm all for that. It's really a useful bit of background. I've never thought of it in quite such simple terms before.
Yeah. Oh, my internet's saying it's unstable.
I can still hear you.
Okay, I think we're back on track.
Yeah,
okay.
We're good.
That's good. So yeah, so just remember that basic mechanism. So the thing is, if our emotions become very aroused, my recommendation is to focus on the feeling. It's like inside your head, you've got a steam engine and also an iPhone. And the iPhone doesn't like it when the steam engine gets very hot. And it tries to use all its own technology to fix the steam engine, but really the thing is the steam engine doesn't need what it needs is a different way of organizing, and it's quite basic and it's quite slow. So the breathing technique I teach, and we teach in Human Givens Therapy, and I think it's taught widely all over the world, is designed to induce a state of calm within the body. And it does that using the breathing mechanism. So you may not be aware, but you've got two nervous systems inside your body. Right now, we all have two kind of wiring systems. One is called the sympathetic and one is called the parasympathetic system. Everything up your body, makes your pulse rate increase and all the rest of it. And when you become anxious, you probably don't know, but you are, without even being aware of it, every part of your body becomes more and more tight. And particularly your breathing may become more and more shallow. Now, when you think about that logically, you're not getting as much oxygen into your body. And that in itself is a vicious circle, and actually can in some cases lead to panic attacks due to an imbalance of oxygen and CO2.
Okay, I think we did have a little bit of a cutting out with the internet. So there was the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, but you made the point well there about how they work and that sort of vicious circle.
Okay, so when we breathe in, when you think about it now, breathing in, the body tends to tense up. That would be the sympathetic nervous system. And when you breathe out, you relax. The body relaxes everything. Does that make sense to you?
I'm doing it now.
Okay, so when you breathe out, your parasympathetic system is being used to relax your body. So logically, the logic of this technique, which is called the 7-11 breathing technique, is that if you make the in-breath shorter than the out-breath, or alternatively the out-breath longer than the in-breath, logically you're relaxing your body for more than you're tensing it up. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So if you breathe in for the count of 7 and you breathe out for the count of 11, roughly twice the length, you're going to find that you will relax. You'll be spending, if you did that for say 5 minutes, obviously you're spending more time relaxing your body than you are tensing it up. All right?
Yeah.
And so that's the idea of the technique. You're in effect utilizing your parasympathetic system more than you are your sympathetic system, and that will induce in you a state of relaxation, whether you like it or not, actually. And actually, I would like to caveat this by saying, if you do not do this technique, if you're operating machinery, cars, driving, or anything, it does really work very well. And you will feel very relaxed. And so it's quite powerful. And I work with the British Army and other people like this, and I can assure you that even people in war zones use this technique.
Okay.
So it does work. Okay, it's not just a sort of a silly thing.
So my capability to produce the program might be lessened as the more relaxed. My capability to produce this recording might be.
Oh, because you're going to feel chilled out. Yeah. Well, let's see how we go. Let's hopefully I'll do the trick. Now, this is just like all skills, Carl. The reason why we teach this technique in therapy is because most people, it's a very simple technique to learn, but it is a skill, and it does take a little bit of practice to get it right. And normally, in our experience, it takes people several days of trying it to kind of just get it properly, where they can do it without even thinking about it. And that's the idea. So I would encourage people to realize that, like all skills, there's a bit of a learning curve. All right, and to realize the skill level in goes like this. Now, obviously, I've counted internally in my head. So I can tap that. You can tap it on a table to count for 7. There is a training video which I can release to you at the end of this thing on YouTube, which just teaches this technique. So you can, that counts for you. Basically, pattern. So you breathe in and out. So you notice my out breath is longer than my in breath, but I'm breathing the same amount of air in and out, but I'm just making the air go out slowly. Okay? So the act of breathing out slowly is itself relaxing. Now, some people say it's a bit of a strain, and it can feel a bit of a strain for some people. So I want to emphasize with all these techniques, only do it to the point you're comfortable doing it. All right? If you find it very hard to do 7 away, you might try, for example, I don't know, 5-9, or 3-7. Does that make sense? Do shorter breaths, but just make the out breath longer.
Sure.
Okay. Now, if you just breathe like that, then that would in itself be quite good. And what we say is that please try this technique for not less than 15 minutes. And the other benefit to using the set, why it's called 7-11, because you have to count initially. And you know, the mind needs a focus. And if you're focused on anxiety and worrying and thoughts and catastrophic thoughts, it's very absorbing for the mind, very hard. They're like massive, beautiful things. They're like magpies. You want to look at them, analyze them, go over them. So you have to drag your attention away from those thoughts. And it helps a lot to have an alternative focus. So what the alternative focus in this case could be is the count itself. So if you're finding yourself becoming overly anxious, you can focus in your mind, count like sheep: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then out: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And you're focusing on the count, and that's distracting your mind from any worrying thoughts. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. Great idea.
Good. Okay, cool. That's good. All right. So the next thing is that you are probably not aware, but when you become anxious at all, and in the normal run-of-the-mill living, most people don't breathe very well. And this is also a really important point to make. So they breathe very shallowly. You've got 2 enormous big sacs here inside your body, and it's like you're only filling the top 10 or 20% of the sac with fresh air. And the whole thing, you know, can you imagine, the whole thing needs to be replenished because gravity takes its force and all the horrible gunk sits at the bottom of your lungs, basically, for the most part. And I mean, you could use that as a metaphor anyway, and just think that you want to clear out and refresh as much of your lung capacity as you can and oxygenate your blood without hyperventilating. This is meant to be a gentle exercise, not kind of rapid hyperventilation or anything like that. This is very gentle, very gentle. So this is the next skill. I hope I'm not going on too far past the skill. The next part of the skill is to try and breathe. Use the diaphragm muscle inside your body. Muscle that cuts your
possibly
in half here. So the bottom of your lungs.
Okay.
Is that better? Can you see?
Yeah, I lost you a little bit.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I can see you perfectly. It was losing
okay, cool.
the sound
so
around.
You can see that the diaphragm is inside your body, and it's a big sheet of muscle that goes all the way inside your body and sort of basically holds the intestines separate from the lungs. And the lungs kind of sit on top of this big sheet of muscle inside your body called the diaphragm. And when you breathe in, generally speaking, the diaphragm slightly drops. Okay, so can you know, like how when you pull bellows out and you suck air in through the bellows?
Yes.
If you use the diaphragm, you're pulling the bellows out from the bottom. Now, another way of breathing, which is the more common way and the way that we need to try and overcome, is using the ribs. we have ribs here. So if you breathe in, if I could see you, Carl, probably I'd be able to show you more graphically. But if I turn to the side, you'll see when I ask most people to breathe in, they go like this. They raise their chest, okay? And in so doing, what they're doing is stretching their ribs far apart. And the little muscles between the ribs are very, very tight. And generally, the pressure to close again is a lot. So you don't get much air in. It doesn't go down very deep. And, you know, it's kind of like that feeling. Do you know what I mean? Whereas with the diaphragm, if you can learn how to drop it, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. If you can learn how to drop it, then you can see how that will effectively be at the bottom of your lungs, and it will cause a great big vacuum in your lungs, and all the air will get sucked right down to the bottom. Does that make sense?
Yep.
The question is, you can't see the diaphragm. It's not an obvious muscle like this one on the side of your arm and things. It's inside your body. How on earth do you drop the diaphragm? And the only way to do it really is to move, well, one key way to do it is to move whatever's on beneath it out the way. So you know what I mean? So it just drops, like with the force of gravity. So what's beneath it is all your intestines. So you have to move them out the way, and you do that by pushing your belly out. It's like you're pregnant. So you have to literally do this. So if this is your belly, it's not very pretty, but don't be self-conscious. Just push it out like that. Now, as I've done that, the diaphragm's dropped inside. Because actually now it's got more space. And that means that the diaphragm's dropped. So if I move my camera a little bit, you can see if I put my hand on my chest and my hand on my belly, watch what happens to the lower hand. It moves, the upper hand is still. Now the skill is this. When you breathe in, you have to push the belly out at the same time. Bit of a skill. Watch. And when you breathe out, you pull the belly in. Okay? Now, I'd like to put you on the spot and see if you can do that. But actually, if you can imagine you're breathing, sometimes it helps to have a visualization that you imagine that you've got a ball inside your belly and you're breathing air in and blowing the ball up. So actually, you've got to breathe in and push your tummy out simultaneously.
I'm doing it.
Can you do it?
Yeah.
And when you breathe out, you consciously pull the belly in as well, right? And so now you keep on doing that breathing. That's called diaphragmatic breathing. And now breathe in and count to 7, and breathe out and count to 11. And what you we've got an add to your feelings of relaxation while you're doing this. You don't need to close your eyes. You can put some love on as well. And you could even bring to mind a lovely place where you can imagine in your mind's eye going to relax, like a beach or somewhere where you associate with relaxing. Create your relaxing spot, as it were, that you can use in your imagination. And you can imagine being there now, Carl. Breathe.
Well, I seem to have, I don't know. Oh, well, okay. Freyja is back in, I think, back in the room, as it were. That was going so well. I feel really relaxed. But I've lost Freyja. I'd gone off to my special place, opened my eyes, and she'd gone. I hope that's not like a superpower I've discovered, but I think what we might have to do is hope that you've got the gist of it there. And oh, she's back. She's back.
Yes.
Hi. I was just saying, I don't know if you heard that, Frey. I was thinking I discovered a superpower where I was doing the 7-Eleven breathing. I'd gone to my special place and then you disappeared. It was
Okay,
just the technology. It wasn't anything I did, was it?
that's great. So yeah, you were really there. I've done my job, which is great. And now, I won't go any further. There's so many extensions to this that are over the, that we could talk about. But what you hopefully will find, excuse me, after about 10 minutes of doing this is that you start to noticeably feel more relaxed. Yeah. And when you do that, you'll start to be able to imagine nicer things and more positive things and send love to people and positivity to people and things like this and to yourself, and also feel more in control. So you'll get back on the driving seat, as it were. Yeah. Bear in mind that as I use that metaphor, that you've got a steam engine and an iPhone in your head. Remember, when the steam engine gets hot, I don't know if you know much about steam engines, but it used to take 24 hours to get nice and cool again, and it takes a while. The brain is very impatient. The iPhone wants it to happen like that, and it isn't going to be like that. You have to take a bit of time and slow down. All right, then. So is that helpful?
That's superb. I mean, maybe what we could do is we could do some live streaming and encourage people to come and join us, and you could lead those sessions. And and you also, fantastic. And you also very kindly said you give your email address out to people who might want to contact you privately. Please go ahead, give your details.
Oh gosh, you put me on the spot, right? So okay, well, if you wish to phone me, let me just check here. Sorry, 1 second.
It's fine because we're both all over the place here with that relaxation. I think we've
exactly.
forgotten about all the formalities. I am feeling noticeably different, even under these circumstances. So thank you very much for that. Really, really appreciate it.
Okay, I'm not sure whether you can. Do you want me to show you on the camera, or do you want me to?
Actually, no, I can do that. I think I've got your email is Freyja. That's with a Y, FREYJA at emotionallywealthypeople.com, which is a fantastic. Emotionally wealthy people.
Correct. Emotionallywealthypeople.com, and my number is 931 306 299. Okay.
Fantastic.
And there's many other things we can build on this. I would like to just plug that a little bit. I mean, the whole principle of making sure our needs are met as best as possible under these circumstances is very important. So we can look at strategies for keeping our needs well met. I think
that's a really important conversation because, like you said, you drew my attention to before, there's so much of our mental health challenge lies in not either in having or not having our needs met. They're so inextricably linked, aren't they? And so a further conversation about how to get our needs met, especially in these challenging times, would be wonderful.
Okay, lovely. Okay, thanks, Carl.
Thank you so much, Freyja. Look forward to speaking to you again. Thank you for that gift that you've just given me and to anyone watching this.
All right, then.
Take care.
Thanks a lot, then. Bye-bye.